Our guest for the next hour is Honorable David Ochieng. David Ochieng is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. He is the MP for Ugenya Constituency. And he is also a party leader. He is the party leader of the Movement for Democracy and Growth, MDG. Mm-hmm. He's one of the MDGs.
Yes.
Millennium Development Goals.
Yes.
Okay. He's MDG 01. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the Situation Room. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
First of all, tell us about this party, MDG. How old is the party? Have you filed your returns? How many members do you have? All those things.
No, the party it's not a small, it's not a big party. I would say medium party. We started in 2016. We have members in 27 counties. Our head office is here in Nairobi on Dennis Pitt Road, at the end of it. That's where our head office is and our secretariat is. We believe in social democracy. We believe in just delivering for the people. You know, in a world and a country where ideology doesn't matter, no one thinks about it. We just believe in delivering services to the people where they are, no matter their life situation. If it is water that they need, you don't need ideology to get water. If it is medical services, just deliver the services. Let's not, speak so much English, a lot of platforms, manifestos. Just get the work done. That's what we believe in.
And how has that been happening so far, Mheshimiwa? Getting the work done, getting it done. Have you had roadblocks, challenges, hurdles? What have you faced from where you sit?
I had the initial background, the discussion you guys were having at the studio. And when I was first elected to Parliament in 2013, I thought part of what I was supposed to do was to try to ensure that my people are able to get the services from the government in whichever way possible. And so I was in one party, but I kept on knocking all the doors I could knock for water, for education services, for tertiary institutions and all that. And this didn't go very much well with the party I was in at that time. And so, I had this very funny moment in 2015. I went to observe the election in Tanzania, the one that first time Magufuli in. And I watched the campaigns, and these campaigns were simple. No nuances, no story mingi, just says, I'm going to do this. I've done this, I'm going to do this. And people believed him. People were saying, this is the guy we need. We don't need a lot of English, a lot of Swahili. We just need someone who can deliver. And so when I came back, I said, no, I'm going to drop that approach to my leadership. And so I thought about how best do I do this? And I and a couple of my friends in Parliament, around 12 of us at that time, who we convinced and said, this is the best way to go. Let's stop this, tribal things and all that. If you're elected as an MCA, can you try to ensure that you deliver? If you are a member of Parliament, can you show you deliver? If you're a governor, can you try to ensure that you deliver? So for me, Hapa Kazi too became something that I thought was very important because that's what resonates with our people. And so the party started, and I can tell you on record that I resigned from ODM, wrote a letter to them saying I'll not run in the party next time, I'll run in this other party. I knew that I'm Luo, I knew that ODM is the biggest party in Nyanza, but I also knew that I can try because I'd done so well, in my opinion, with the constituency. I'd worked so hard for my constituents, and I knew they would give me their confidence and elect me back to Parliament through a different platform. Of course, in 2017, I in quotes lost the election because I was not announced as MP for Ugenya. There's a lot of bribery, there's a lot of violence, but above all, and the biggest thing that I faced in the election, colleagues, is that there was a lot of propaganda. That because I'm not in ODM, I must be in Jubilee. Because I'm in ODM, I must be supporting Uhuru Kenyatta. And remember, that year is the year that Chris Musando was killed. Remember Chris Musando of IBC?
Yes.
And he came from Ugenya. And these guys didn't even stop at that. They went ahead and said that because Musando was from Ugenya and I'm supporting Uhuru Kenyatta, which I wasn't. I was campaigning for Raila day and night. They said, it's me and Uhuru and Ruto who plan to kill Musando. And things were being said in broad daylight. Just because I wasn't in a party that,
It's dominant
belongs
in
to that region. Yes, and so through the propaganda and those sheer campaigns. And then now on the election day, they just decided to gerrymander and mess up the vote and announced that I'd lost by 347 votes. Of course, I'd served as MP, I'd done well in my opinion, and I didn't need to fight it. I had people coming to my home telling me, you have to go to the IBC center, you have to fight. I told them, no, it's God's doing. If God wills, I will. Because I'd served, and I was so prepared, to leave and go home. But then, after the dust settled, I realized that we had so much dirt in that election that we could actually overturn it in the courts. And so we went to court. And by the way, as many petitions in that year were talking about numbers that were rigged, numbers that were not adding up, we didn't attack the numbers. We went to court and told the court that, look, the elections that we had in Ugenya were not elections because the campaign was marred by propaganda, the campaign was marred by mudslinging, and therefore it could not give people an environment where they could elect their leader objectively without this propaganda. And the court agreed with that. And that where there's a lot of propaganda and misinformation and mudslinging and generally subverting the process of election, then the courts could intervene. And so we didn't attack the numbers. We just told the court that we didn't want the results. Whether we won or not, the campaign process was so bad that it couldn't lead to a good result. And so the court agreed with that in the High Court. The Court of Appeal agreed with that. And the Supreme Court also agreed with that. So we went back to the election in 2019. I can tell you the pressure I went through being asked to go back to that bigger party in the region, being told not to run because I was going to be given a seat in government, being told to stay off because I'm young, I'll have another chance. But when we started the MDG, we knew that it will not be easy, and we knew that it requires more than an election to make a mark. And so we stuck our guns and said that for the party to take root, we must be willing to take the long road. And I believe, I'm a believer in the long road. I don't believe in shortcuts, because when you take shortcuts normally, you don't get there quickly as you thought, because as soon as you get there, you get roadblocked. And so I believe in the longer route. And so we use the longer route. Again, in this campaign now, remember now, Raila and Uhuru are now brothers. And so they could not campaign that I'm in Uhuru's
So the
camp.
propaganda could not work anymore.
No, but they turned it around and now said that I'm now in Ruto's camp. And then the public asked, so are we that stupid? Last time you were here saying Ochieng was with Jubilee. Now you've gone to Jubilee, now you're moving into Ruto. So people just refuse to listen. But above all, people said that this guy, when he was MP for 4.5 years, we saw the following. And by the way, without bragging, we did so much for the people. When I went to Parliament, there was not a single tertiary institution in my constituency. I realized that out of every 100 students leaving Form 4, only 10 went to the university. So we needed a place where these young people could go. And so using CDF and lobbying at the national government, in 4 years, we were able to build a teacher's college, we built a technical college, we built a medical training college, we started building a college of agriculture. We did, and we were able to get people seed and fertilizer. We were able to get people to go to school because we had very good programs. For if you scored, like now, results are out. If you scored 350 marks and above, and you were called to Mangu, the CDF would pay for you for the 4 years. If they're called to Alliance, our CDF would pay for. So people saw what we did,
The
and
benefits of all this.
I needed to be given another chance.
I hear what you're saying, Mheshimiwa, and the kind of work that you say you did, and then the people and resonating with the people, and you thinking I want to champion some different ideology, and coming up with a political party and registering the political party and informing your former political party that in the next election I am going a different route. Here's my issue. So you're creating a new political party with a different ideology because the one that you belonged to, you felt that was not really addressing the kind of ideology that you want to have. But then you're still campaigning for the presidential candidate of that political party.
Yes.
So where do you now draw the line and say, so I moved to MDG because I have I have a different train of thought, but I'm still supporting the party leader of the other party.
Yes. One, because that year I wasn't running for president, there was nobody running for president in our party. And so we need to decide who we're going to support for the elections for president. And I thought that, one, and to be frank with you, one is that if I was going to win my seat, I could have been seen to be supporting another person, which the region would not want.
Yeah.
You also have to check. You also have to check this clearly. Eh?
You have to be clever.
The default is because, I'm not running for president. Yet I want to build a party. I have to be able to know how much to buy it so that to be able to plant the seed.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But that does not mean that in any arming election I would be forced to support anybody in whichever way. Okay, I'm so clear in my mind in terms of how I want this candidate to be run. And if, for example, tomorrow it is Abdiza Duda, who I think has a better platform, I'll support him. Because I don't believe that I must win my seat through Kukunkruk. And let me tell you something. I've known the joy of losing an election and the sorrow of winning an election. And those words are so carefully chosen.
Explain yourself,
I don't
please.
mind. I don't mind. So when you lose an election, you understand that sometimes you're fighting too much for people who probably don't even care about why you're fighting for them. And then sometimes when you win, you find yourself in a situation like we are in now, where we have a country that requires a couple of changes to be done. People then take this desperation to change the constitution. For example, we need to get counties getting 35% of the money. So that people will support, and that I'll support. Then you load it with 70 constituencies which you didn't need. So then you have to choose. You have to make a choice of which is the better devil in that situation. You understand? And so that is the way elections are done. That is the way politics is run. You have to choose which is your better devil as you try to make impact. Because there are also options of being able to stay outside, which sometimes is good. But when you stay outside, let me tell you, when you stay outside, you get led by buffoons. You get led by people who would not hold a candle at you any day. And that's why, much as politics may be muddy, it may be dirty, you just have to remain in there and hope that, over time, people will see the sense and elect the right leaders.
Mheshimiwa, let me ask you this question. I'm sure you've pondered about the response that I would like to hear.
Is that Latif? Who is it?
You see that?
This is Muga.
This is Muga,
Okay.
yes. You see the
Yes,
path.
okay,
I've listened very, very carefully to the path that you have followed in your career. Do you know just how closely it mirrors the path that the ODM leader Raila Odinga has had? Because he himself was in one party at some point in his time, a big party that represented the region, that western region, and he left.
His father's party.
His father's party, formed his own party.
That's true.
And
That's
he hasn't done it once. Okay?
Yes,
One could
yes,
even argue
yes,
he's made a
yes.
career out of it. But the truth of the matter is, it's like the same process that you're going through. It's something that even he understood. That's the first thing I want to mention. But then I want to ask the question. When you're in the political sphere and you're a member of a party such as ODM that is dominant in a region like Nyanza, I'm calling it Nyanza because I want to be comprehensive about it. Surely you understand how the party functions. Surely you understood with great clarity that if you presented yourself as somebody who wants to go to a new party, the immediate label that you would get is traitor. And immediately everything that you do will be positioned politically from the point of view that you are supporting the very person whom they're opposed to. It's normal. I'm sure you considered this.
Yes,
Now,
I did.
there are many people who I'm sure want to become politicians now. When I say want to become politicians, they think they're politicians, but then I want to vie for seats.
Yes.
What would they need to consider, the reality that they need to consider even as they embark on wanting to become politicians who are actually elected?
Oh, that's interesting. I want to look at it on two levels. One, biblically, people, when you are at crossroads, the Bible tells us that you have to go back to the ancient path. And so normally there's not so much novelty in forming a party, by the way. There's not so much newness in forming a party and in trying to follow your heart in politics. What would be new is how you navigate it, how you go about it in terms of making sure that, because again, you don't want to fail. You want to be successful in this. And even when you want to run so that you're able to win. And probably, people run for different reasons. You may want to win because you hope there's money in politics. You may want to run because you want to sort out a problem in your constituency or in your area. You want to run because you want to be a public servant. There's always a reason why people run. I will tell you, part of my success, even in the by-election, was the fact that I'd had a chance to serve, and therefore I'd had a chance to showcase who I am. I've had a chance. People know. If you go to Ugenya, people will tell you that we know David Ochieng is hard-headed. We know that there are things he will not take, and we know that he's never willing. He's never, going to take anything just because he wants to win his seat back. No, I would never personally take my feet where my heart would not go. And so, if someone wants to run today, for example, in Nyanza, in the coming election, and this I have to say very carefully, looking at, one, how will the BBI process go? So someone has to wait until the BBI process ends, whether the court stops it or people go to the referendum. Okay? After that, people must look at what is Raila Odinga saying. Is he running for president? Which coalition is he going to be in? That is for people who are starting. Okay? Now, from where I sit, I may not be involved much, but I can tell you that I'm actively involved in recruiting candidates in every ward, in every constituency, in every county, not just in Nyanza, but in the whole of Western Kenya, the whole of coastal Kenya, parts of Rift Valley. We've been going around trying to get the candidates who would buy our kind of politics and our kind of agenda, and who would be willing to stick their necks out in the manner that we want necks stuck out. And so, yes, people would want to say that this is the Roman party in this area, this is the Roman party in this area. But we are telling people that, that may be true. But if you want to change our politics, if you want to change the way you run our politics, then we must be willing to go to uncharted waters. You must be willing to say, yes, this is the Roman party in Nyanza, but it is not done well for us in devolution. And therefore, for example, if you go to my county, Syria, out of 30 MCAs, if 25 are from the same party, you'll never have a good county assembly that can hold the governor to account. And this we are telling people that, yes, we may not have an issue with the national level politics, but for the county level, we must have a good governor, you must have a good MP, you must have a good MCA. Yep. And so we are telling people that, look, if we are going to have a good county assembly in CIA, then you must have a multi-party county assembly. If you're going to have,
as you're saying these things, I then must ask you, the way in which political parties are run, the agreements, whether they are silent or spoken, is there or should there be a big difference between how that machinery is operated and how the country is operated?
There must be a difference, but I can tell you now that what we have, including even MDG, because like I've told you, when you're recruiting, you want to recruit in a region where you think you're going to be friendly to your idea, you're going to receive your ideas in a better way, looking at how your neck is formed. If you go to Kisii, you will get guys. If you go to Western, you will get guys, and all this kind of a thing. But our parties are extremely tribal. And so the mobilization is not based on anything that someone will take home as, like I told you earlier, as an ideology or as a platform that, I'm going to this party because this party stands for this. I'm going to this party because this party it's not based on that at all. And this is true even for me when I started politics. I thought, I was a young man of 28 years old and I thought about running. And I can tell you, instinctually, I went to the party that was strong in my region. You understand? Instinctually. But over time, then you realize that, if you're going to do politics, if I may use that word, on your own terms, if you're going to follow your heart, then you have to go the long road, like the one I've chosen. But for those who want to join politics so that they can win tomorrow, you definitely have to look for that party in your region that is stronger. And I can tell you this for sure. Like, for example, the coming elections, the Kalenjins believe that it's their time to be president. And so it's going to be a wave, whichever party that route runs within Rift Valley. Okay? In Nyanza, if, for example, Raila were to run for president, then people will just come on his coattails to win seats. If he doesn't run for president, they look at which coalition he's gone into. And so there's not so much, time taken in building parties ideologically, in trying to convince members that this party, if you're born in Nyanza, I don't know if Muga is born in Nyanza. If you're born in Nyanza...
Actually, I am born in Nyanza. Not only am I born in Nyanza, I come from that particular region, and I even speak the dominant language in that particular region called the Luo.
So if you come from Nyanza, when you turn 18, we assume you are a member of that big party.
It is usually a good assumption.
It's assumed, okay.
Yes, so whether you're carrying a card, whether you even know where officers are, you assume.
It is expected of you to support that party.
If you are Terere from Kikuyu land, we know you are in this other party. So it is a bad way of doing politics, and that's why I still believe personally that my age, I turned 40 recently. My age and people coming behind me must deal with that laziness.
Okay. You will also
deal with that stupidity.
Okay, so you're saying must deal with that laziness and that stupidity. Now, if we're taking some of these attitudes that we see now on a national level, the other day you were very open about what you feel should be done to those who also could be acting in a very off-putting manner when it comes to corruption and public thievery and things like that. You didn't mince your words, Mheshimiwa. You said, if you were president, certain things should happen to certain people. You wouldn't ask questions. And apart from saying that if it was you who were to be president, it's almost sounded like you were giving advice to the one who is president today to say, get rid of some of these fellas. Is that still the position that you hold, or did you have a minute to sleep over it and change your mind?
I'll run for president shortly.
Okay.
And I can assure you that in my regime, some heads must fall. That is something that I'm not going to think twice about. I'm convinced that we need that therapy. We need that shock. We need that intervention. Nkundu, if you look at corruption in this country, and it's pervasive, it's in every sector. You go to water sector, people cannot access water. But if you look at the budget for water, and you look at how much of it is stolen from 1963 to date, you go to food security, and I can give you examples from 63, I can give you examples from yesterday, where the National Cereals Board has become something else. The sugar industry has fallen down. Government puts money in something called Galana Kulalu. A couple of billion shillings. You're told that, this is going to give us 1 million bags of maize. Then you bring in the Israelis. Then you start taking money from them. 2 years down the lane, government has put money in there. The Israelis have invested money in there. You are not harvesting enough. And you are told the reason you're not harvesting enough is not because of anything. It's because someone picked kickback.
Yeah.
So you have to import maize from Uganda, Tanzania, and all that. And people are going hungry. The price of food has gone so high up. Next to your office at the airport there, people know in this country who has led to the fall of Kenya Airways. People know it very well. We joke about them. We are cases, Golden Bug. In people talk about Singapore, Malaysia. When Malaysia and Singapore were growing, they implemented the same policies that Kenya was implementing, where if you exported this bottle of water, you are told that if you export this bottle of water, we'll give you an export rebate of this much. If you export this furniture, we'll give you a refund of this much. What happened? We had people like Patney and his colleagues coming, phantom companies, claiming they have exported gold, which we are not producing as a country, and getting refunds. We know who they are. In this country, we import all the fertilizer we use. In the early 80s, there's a company formed called Kenren. Kenren was supposed to produce fertilizer in this country. It will shock you that we don't have a company. Kenya has paid more than 100 billion shillings to some UK company, purportedly for Kenyan. I mean, we know who stole what. Anglo-leasing. You know, let me tell you something. On the Anglo-leasing cases, all the suspects are now dead. The cases took 20 years in court. Anglo-leasing is now 12, 13 years in court. We know who they are. We know how much was lost. We know how they are playing with the system. And we are hoping that somehow the system will give us a solution. No, I will not be that patient. No.
Let's take a break at this point.
You know, before you take a break, let me tell you something today. People know that the governors are keeping money in their drawer so that they can bribe the officers from the Auditor General's office. They know the auditors will come, and they are keeping money to bribe them, and people know about them. People just know that there's some budgets that you keep aside for those who will come, whether it's EACC, whether it's Auditor General's office, whether it's Parliament. They know that they will come, and we have an envelope for them. I just need to pick a few. I don't need to kill everybody. If it's in Parliament, and I know this is the one doing this, you know, if it is in government ministries, I'll just kill 3 ministers, and the rest of them will have to toe the line. If it is the Parliament, I'll just kill a few of my colleagues.
David is one of those who's coming up with this very radical. He says he will be vying for presidency, and what he wants to do, if he is given the opportunity to become president, is deal with corruption ruthlessly. Kill 1 or 2, 3, 4 people, okay?
Surely,
and everybody else,
surely take people to court, let them be found guilty by the system.
Okay, and
yes.
then after they are found guilty by the
then
system,
the discussion that he's bringing in can be discussed.
Okay. The people of Syria County. Is this in the water? In 1982, a young 29-year-old gentleman was elected in a by-election as MP. That man is James Orengo. You know politics of James Orengo.
It's clear.
Higher. Syria is the same one which has Rarieda, Tuju Rarieda, Ochieng Rarieda. Ugenya now has David Ochieng.
Oh, take it further. Bondo is in
is
Syria. Start with Jaramogi, just come down.
Raila.
Rarieda, Ochieng Oneko. Same place.
Same.
Yes. Oh, there'll be no shortage. And you know, Syria comes up to game. So if you're thinking of all these fellows, Okiom, all the other fellows that you hear.
And they don't always have to speak the same language.
They usually don't.
That's very
But
good.
they don't take a monopoly on it. Remember, Migori County, in the days of the one-party system, even when NDP and the rest came in and Luo Nyanza was under one party, you had a whole plethora of councillors who decided they didn't think that way. They needed to actually seek refuge in the neighboring country of Tanzania until things cooled down. But even their current governor, the first ticket on which he was voted in was a PDP ticket. So one might actually ask, what sort of water do these people drink?
Yes. It's a big question. We're having a conversation with Hon.David Ochieng. He's the current MP for Ugenya constituency. He also has his eyes set and he's very ambitious. He wants to vie for presidency one time. All right? He will tell us when. But at the same time, he's talking about what he would do with the government with dealing with what we call the scourge that is corruption in Kenya. And this is what he said on the floor of the House. It's on record. It will remain on record as a member of parliament who said how he would deal with corruption. Listen to this.
If I were to become president, Mr. Speaker, tomorrow, if I become president tomorrow, I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, a couple of men will have to die in this country. Because we can't have people stealing. They are disturbing the country. They have bought the courts. They have bought everywhere. Mr. Speaker, if I was a president and tomorrow someone stole the money, I'll send you to the airport and I'll kill you along the way. I won't allow you to leave. Because we have a country where we know who is stealing from us, we know who they are, and they come to TV to tell us how they are not thieves. So, Speaker, they will not live in my regime. I can assure you. If there's a high court judge or a Supreme Court judge who is taking money from litigants, I will kill him. If it is a member of this assembly, committee chairperson who takes money from ministries that is oversighting, I will kill him. So that we have a proper country that is clean enough. We cannot be claiming we want to be clean and we are doing deals with ministries.
Kill him. Basically, that's it. And before we went to the break, you were saying, we know who these people are. It's not like we are sitting here.
And he is right.
Okay.
Because we know.
We do know.
We do know who
we
they
do
are.
know how it works. I mean, the anatomy of the corruption in this country is not a secret. Even as not one child knows.
Okay, so is that the option? Is that where we have reached? Have things gotten to the point that they are that bad, Mheshimiwa, that we are saying, you know what, we're not even going to go through a constitutionally appointed system like the courts. We are not going to even start asking questions, alleged charges,
Proof.
answer, investigations, proof. No, you're saying
Exhaust all avenues of appeal.
exhaust all avenues of justice. Even we are saying that it's too much now. This is the option that should be taken. Is that what you're saying, Mheshimiwa? That it is time for some radical action in this country, and why not use the court system? I'm asking in terms of options.
Nkundu, you're
Sir?
speaking to a lawyer. You're speaking to a lawyer who would know better about the rule of law. And so I'm not bluffing on that issue.
Okay.
I'm so much aware about the due process. I'm aware of what needs to be done in terms of if you were to follow the law. Okay? And this has been every time there's a scandal, every time there's a big haste, you hear we are giving EC 20 days to give us results. You know, if it's Anglo-listing, they will tell you no stone will be left unturned in this situation. We'll bring the culprits to book. These are the cliches that we hear every day. From 63, show me anybody who stole $1 billion shillings or have $1 billion of kind of money who was taken to jail and served time. Because they have known. They know that, you know, there'll be this due process thing. They know they can. I mean, people keep monies at home for bail. They know that, yes, we'll go today. I will stay there for a week. Under those circumstances, I will buy the police. I'll be getting my meals at the police cell. I'll be getting whatever I need. I'll get a blanket and a mattress at the police cell. Then after 3 days, I will go in. The judge will order 17 million shillings. My gang will bring the money. I'll be out tomorrow.
You know, Mheshimiwa, what you're describing is
it's such a script.
it is a script, but what you're describing is like an alternate universe that functions in this same country, and that is the alternate universe that is actually controlling the actual universe in which we live in this particular country.
That's the point. That's what you call the corruption deep state, if you wish, because it is how this whole country is run. People, I mean, this thing starts this way, friends.
Muga is the
We
name.
in Parliament,
Yes.
budget corruption. Because the budgets are passed by us, remember?
Yes.
And so we know which monies are going where. So the ministries load this in the budget that will come to us. They know that this money, for example, this is going to buy drugs. We now have a COVID situation. We have money given to KEBSA, 5 billion, for so many things. But because there's COVID, let's convert all that money into a COVID response money. Okay? Because as I said, how would a 6-month-old company win a tender to supply so much, you know, equipment, drugs, I mean, medicine, all these things? 6-month-old company, owned by a lawyer, supposedly, has never supplied a single mosquito net, but they're now being asked to supply gowns, supply, you know, masks, supply all these things.
But Mheshimiwa, the 6 months shouldn't be an issue. It probably could. What I want to understand is, do they meet the procurement requirements of government? So if the 6 months invalidates their competence, then yes. Let me explain what I mean. You could form a company today, and you are associated with some suppliers or manufacturers somewhere, and you know exactly how to source. Essentially, you're a middleman sourcing things. It's not as though you've had experience, but you know how to source things.
I understand you, but would another company, the 6 months, get the same contract?
That's why I raised the question. Is it the 6 months? Is it the tendering process? Or is it now we're simply saying everything?
It's a chronism.
Yes. You're saying there was nothing that should have qualified this particular company to get this work.
No, the whole system. If we didn't know anybody, he wouldn't have gotten that contract. If we didn't know somebody, he wouldn't have gotten that contract. It's that simple. That chronism. You know, the patronage. The fact the system is rigged for everybody else. You know, that we advertise this tender, we already know who's going to get it. We advertise this one, you don't know who's going to get it. And it's done in such a way that it will pass the legal processes. And that's why I'm telling you, the reputation I have, and which most Kenyans have, is that the legal processes are not delivering.
So if everybody knows this, what you're saying is that it's common knowledge. If everybody knows this, especially the folks who are passing these budgets, who are aware of these things and nothing is being done about it, then who should the fingers be pointed at?
You know, it's a whole system. From the time you start procuring, to the time the payments are being made, to the time investigations start about this corruption, to the time you go to court. These guys are prepared the whole system that to the level when you go to court, they're prepared on how to deal with this, who will approach the judge, who will talk to who and who. It is all well wired.
True, Mheshimiwa, but you know who we rely on to sort them out, to balance them out? It's the house you belong to.
If they don't get a good judge, they will try to delay the cases to up to. I mean, let me give an example, guys. I told you about how I came back to Parliament after losing in 2017.
Yes.
So, as a politician, we can decide that if there's any issue with an election, for presidency, just in 14 days, and we've decided whether elections are done right or not. And it's given to the Supreme Court. If it's for MP, governor, you need 6 months. And this must be done within those 6 months. Then you lose you use 500 billion shillings, you lose 10 billion, you lose 63 billion, you lose so much money that the one you lost in NYS, and you're now telling me about due process.
Indeed. It looks like if we're to follow your premise, then we would need to change the constitution, which that gives the president executive powers to decide who should be done away with and who shouldn't. And then we are back to a dictatorship.
Desperate measures require this. Desperate times require desperate measures. I mean, let me tell you this. I know that what I'm proposing may be or is illegal. I know that. I know that what I'm proposing is extrajudicial. I know that too. But I also know that the other alternative will not achieve the result that I want. Understand? So that, look, let's use the example. Let's see examples currently. The Golden Bar. You know the participants. They are known by name. You have a system called NIS. Who can tell you who did what and who did what? They can tell you. You know the key issue of NYS loss of money. They'll tell you, because I'm president, I'm going to be receiving this brief. They can tell you this is how this thing was done. Ask them about KEMSA. They will tell you how this thing was done. Now, it gets to a level where now they start saying, this touches very big people. This touches, we need to go slow. We need to allow it to go through the due process. Now, what I'll do is I'll not do business with the state, and therefore I'll not have interest in that regard. But above all, I can tell you, if you want free education in this country, free medical care, we have people having good security. The money you have is enough. We just need to have it going round without 2-3 people keeping it in their mattresses. And so I will use the system of governance to know, yes, you gave this contract to this individual in KEMSA. Who spoke? And you don't need a genius. You heard it in Parliament. How so-and-so walked into my office and he said that he had talked to so-and-so, who now sent him and told him that I give him a contract. These are
practically speaking, Mheshimiwa David Ochieng.
Yes.
You realize that for you to become president, you bring in a network of very many other people, your supporters, those that supported you in your campaign, those that came and contributed, those that have become very close friends of yours. And not everybody who is supporting you because they think, okay, so David is actually going to help us move the country from this point to this other point in terms of development. Others are coming into it for business. And you know that. At this point when you're president and NIS is bringing you reports, and then it shows you that one of your closest campaigners, one of your closest supporters, or one of even of your relatives is involved in this, would you still go ahead and say, off with their head?
That's the price I and they will pay to make the country clean.
Mheshimiwa, there's something that you mentioned regarding your party and you're trying to make it a national party. Yes, it is true that our parties have their strength regionally, but it is the reality of politics everywhere in the world. It just depends on the demographics. There will be regions that support the Democrats, there will be regions that support the Conservatives, there will be regions that support Labour, and so forth, for whatever reason. But when you talk about an ideology that you wish to be able to spread and to convince others, and yet we know that one of the things that our people do is they first look at the influence you have in your own backyard and what it is that you have done in your backyard and how successful it is. The people that you want to work with, what is the criteria that you're using, apart from just the enthusiasm and their wish to see change? What else are you looking at in considering the people who you approach and talk to and want to bring into this fold?
I told you earlier that we are actively involved as we speak in trying to get candidates to run for the seats that we're going to fill candidates in.
Yes.
In all the constituencies in the country. And one of the things we're looking at is whether the persons who are going to run in our platform understand the real problems that this country faces. Because if they don't understand why they're going to be MPs or MCAs or governors in our party, then they get in and fall into the same bureaucracy that gets in here. So we are careful about how we are choosing our candidates. That I can assure you. Number two is that we are wasting resources, and soon I'll be coming to Muga, I'll be coming to Latif, I'll be coming to Nkundu, to give me even if it's 1,000 shillings a month. That's all I need from you to help me build my party.
How much did you say?
Money. I just need 1,000 shillings from you from every month.
Oh, okay.
The three of you. That'll be 3K a month. In a
So
year,
you want to compete with NHIF?
We're going to do that so that we're able to look. Let me give you an example. You know, places where change is made, the public must get involved.
True.
The reason a situation like the one we just described a few minutes ago, where people buy into your platform, happens, is that Kenyans don't want to contribute to political parties. They don't want to put money where their mouths are. If you were to do a poll today and ask Kenyans what would they want to be done for those who steal their money, they'll tell you you want them hanged. They want them executed at the Uhuru Park. They will tell you that. But they don't want to spend money in it. Or, number two, it's only corruption when it touches somebody else, but when it touches your brother or sister, then it's not the corruption. It's business. You understand? So it has those nuances. And part of the thing that I believe is that Kenyans must be able to understand that if you are to deal with corruption, apart from executing a few, they must also contribute towards politics and ensuring that those who run for president, those who run for governors, are not dipping their hands or not taking money from people who are going to demand these things from them. I can tell you this, by the way. I've lost friends in my short stint in politics. I had somebody who told my wife some time back that if your husband goes on with the way he's going, both of you are going to die poor. A very close friend of mine. When he asked me for a tender, and I said, no, just go in, apply when you're CDF normally. If they give you, God help you. If they don't give you, you'll try next time. So it is normally the kind of things that you decide on. I don't agree with those who say that if I'm not MP, I can still survive. If I'm not, because I'm a lawyer, for example, and I practice in a very specialized area. So I don't think I would sleep hungry. But that's not the issue. Life cannot be about sleeping hungry only. Life can't be about your comfort only. Life has to be about you living in an environment where you think, you can assist, you can help the system to grow. You cannot just sit back and say, okay, no, because I'm comfortable, I have my cars, I have my house and all this, and therefore let someone else fight for themselves. No.
Mheshimiwa, the tenets and the qualities that you speak of in trying to choose possible candidates is laudable. However, there are many who've preceded you who have vied and wanted those same qualities. So the question I would ask is, what is the mechanism that one would consider in thinking of how you actually deter or stop or ensure that these people do not become corrupt? Because many of the people we call corrupt didn't start off being corrupt. The reason why they were elected is because they had shown an example. They may not have achieved what you've achieved, but they followed a similar line. They were attractive candidates. They seem to have the interests of the people at heart, but somewhere along the line, there's some water you drink in parliament and there's some air you breathe in parliament. Suddenly, they became very different people.
Disappear.
Yes.
No, you are right in so many ways. But I believe that part of why I told you that I personally, for example, believe that if we are to deal with this issue of corruption holistically, apart from killing those ones who are at the extreme, we must just cleanse our politics. Understand? And this starts, and I said it on that day too, it starts from the Mwananchi. You see, this is now May 2021. Elections are coming up in the next 14 months. Every politician as we speak now is looking for money for the next year's campaign. And they won't care. And why are they looking for the money? So that people can line up and they receive money from their hands. And the public is so happy to receive that money. So if you give 100 shillings, and tomorrow I come and give 500 shillings, I'm the better candidate. And so if we are able to cleanse our politics so that, the public is informed, that instead of the politician giving you money, it should be you asking them questions. Where have you gotten the money you're giving us from?
May I respond to what you're asking by asking you another question in an attempt to respond? I've heard, I am of the same view as you have, except I'd follow a due process in looking at, I call them progressive countries like China, where when you steal from the government, it's considered a crime against humanity, and they actually do shoot you. And if you have relatives who are involved, they shoot all of them. However, the underlying issue here is profit and money. What in your mind do you think would be more painful and more effective if you ensure they didn't have any money whatsoever, and that any money that was attached to anything that was untoward was taken away from you? Which one do you think is better? You live in the country and you have no resources because you stole them, or killing you? Which do you think would be more effective?
Both of them are effective to a level. You understand? And that's why I'm telling you that, for example, this thing of trying to deal with those extreme ones is to ensure that people understand that there are consequences to stealing, and that we are willing to go the extra mile if you buy the process, if you rig the process, then we are willing to rig you out.
But if you kill someone, they are gone. If you take their money, they're poor and people can see them.
The lesson is very clear.
Yes,
you were killed plus your wife, plus your children. You died.
You tell me, but if you are dead, yes. But then you are dead, gone. But if you are alive and poor and walking and looking for money
you can steal again.
Oh, no,
You're a threat.
I think the two are not mutually exclusive, because when you are dead, we are able to get your property. We are able to trace what you stole. We know what you own. By the time I'm killing you,
but you're also able to ensure that those who are involved in those practices become cleverer. They now ensure that. All I'm saying is, and I agree with you, there's nothing like a perfect solution here. I'm simply saying
the government can never be lied to. Let me tell you, the government is a big bureaucracy. You can never lie to government and tell government that this property is owned by Ochieng, but it's being held in trust by Muga, or this property belongs to. So they know. It belongs to the state.
They do.
The register belongs to the state. Where you register your car belongs to the state. The state would know that this car is being driven by Ochieng, but it's in the name of Nkundu. The state would know. It's very easy to trace this kind of thing. So I agree with you on one hand that you can trace this property, attach them, but the guys they'll be fighting. They'll be fighting in court to have this property. For example, that there are people government has tried getting property owned by these people. And
have they really tried hard enough?
So are we saying that what they have tried has not worked, and over it has been tried, it has not worked? So the more radical solution is what you're suggesting, and that is what
would
work.
How do you try when
permanently?
You're part and parcel of the same caboodle? I mean, what success are we going to have?
Who's going to be the one who is going to carry out? Who is the one with clean enough hands? Who is the one with a clean enough conscience to then be able to carry this out?
Let me check this up, because for example, there's corruption. For example, a high school teacher who takes money to admit a student to class. Why would I kill that? I would just, tell him to leave his work and go do something else. But there's this person who we know his job is to wait for the budget to be passed. He knows who to talk to and who to bribe.
Yep.
He knows how the systems work. Those ones, I tell you, they'll have to die.
It looks like you'll need to begin with the people you work with in that house, because they are at the heart of this problem.
He said a couple of members.
And that's why I said, if you listen, I said that even if it means members of parliament, I said there in their presence.
That's very true.
That if it is them dealing with this issue, I would not, there will be no slack for anybody. Yeah. And by the way, this one, I dare say that even if it will mean me, people who have achieved so much. Yesterday in Ugandan parliament, by the way, yesterday, they were discussing a board that was set up to be able to get the property of the Indians who Amin sent away. There's so much property, but these properties were taken up. The owners were compensated, and they went away. Okay? No property was left. 10 years down the lane, no one knows where that property went. When Amin was doing this, Amin was doing this so that the public can be able to own businesses, do business, all that. And he had very good. Let me tell you, if you go talk to Uganda, they'll tell you that much as Amin is denigrated as a person who was deranged, there are things he did there that they tell you that this one helped this one helped this. At some point, and I have read Lee Kuan Yew's books severally. At some point, you have to be the one willing to pull the trigger.
David Ochieng, thank you very much for speaking to us today. He is the MP for Ugenya Constituency. Asante sana for all the contributions that you've done. We'll be speaking to you again soon to now put you on the spot and ask you, so what have you been doing in Parliament in terms of in your role as the one in oversight? That is conversation for another day.
I'll be glad.
Asante Mheshimiwa, thank you.